Good American Family doesn't cover Natalia Grace's full true story. Here's what we know about a potential season 2. Hulu's scripted miniseries, Good American Family, which recounts the true story of Natalia Grace's disastrous adoption from multiple perspectives, aired its first season finale on Wednesday. The dramatic episode, titled Blood on Her Hands, follows Natalia, Imogen Faith Reed, as a legal case is mounted against her adoptive parents, Christine and Michael Barnett, played by Ellen Pompeo and Mark Duplass. In real life, the Barnetts were arrested and charged with neglect after leaving Natalia in Indiana and moving to Canada. They had adopted her in 2010, believing her to be a 6-year-old Ukrainian orphan, but later claimed Natalia was an adult con artist pretending to be a child. Natalia has denied all their accusations. The Barnetts petitioned a court to re-age Natalia, successfully changing her legal birth year from 2003 to 1989. However, the Barnetts remained her legal guardians as a result of Natalia's disability. Natalia, who has a rare form of dwarfism called spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, was eventually adopted by another set of parents, Cynthia and Antoine Mans, played by Christina Hendricks and Jared Haynes. In the TV show, as in real life, the Barnetts don't go to jail. The case against Michael falls apart when the judge rules against any mention of Natalia's age in court. The charges against Christine were later dismissed. Despite the harsh legal verdict, causing Natalia to fear the world would see her as a monster, the final gestures toward a happier future for Natalia with the Mans family. But that's not where Natalia's real story ended. People interviewed in Season 3 of ID's docuseries, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, said they witnessed abuse in the Mans household. Natalia also confirmed she'd left the family, and as of January 2025, she said she was living with another family, the Dipals in New York. Cynthia and Antoine Mans did not respond to BI's request for comment on the abuse allegations. Will Good American Family return for a second season to keep following the twists and turns of Natalia's story? Here's what we know. Good American Family was originally created as an 8-episode limited series. As of writing, Hulu has not announced a renewal. The series creator, Katie Robbins, told TV Insider that the showrunners have not planned for a second season. This series ends very specifically where it does, Robbins said. At the end of that trial, when there is empirical, scientific fact available about Natalia's age, and having that not change anything in the court of law. Having that be not admissible in the court of law really lands this horrifying idea. In a show that grapples with horror tropes, that is the most kind of horrifying thing at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. That doesn't change anything. Although she didn't definitively rule out another season, Robbins explained the Good American Family finale was constructed in a way for the show's key themes, the deceptive effects of bias, the dangers of performative charity, the fallibility of the justice system, to land sharply. I think that to do an additional story here, there would need to be a reason. Something to say in the world of true crime meets reality television. Few stories have ignited public fascination and controversy, quite like the case of Natalia Grace. The docuseries The Curious Case of Natalia Grace introduced viewers to a web of confusion, deceit, medical records, and emotional turmoil. Then came Good American Family, a dramatized take that brought the saga to mainstream streaming audiences with sleek cinematography and star power. But fans and critics agree. It didn't tell the whole story. As Season 1 wrapped up, audiences were left with more questions than answers. Who is Natalia Grace, really? What do the Barnetts still refuse to admit? And what's the truth that lies beyond the sensational headlines? Let's dive into what Good American Family missed, and what Season 2 could finally reveal. With it, Robin said, "And never say never, but that would be the thing." Why tell it? What was left out in Season 1? Season 1 of Good American Family focused primarily on the Barnetts, especially on Michael and Christine, the adoptive parents who claimed their daughter, Natalia, wasn't a child at all, but a con artist pretending to be one. The show leaned heavily into their perspective, building suspense around whether Natalia was a 6-year-old Ukrainian orphan or a 22-year-old adult masquerading as one. It was compelling TV, but at times felt like a stylized echo chamber for the Barnetts' wildest claims. What the series didn't fully explore were Natalia's side of the story and her life after leaving the Barnetts. Her years with the man's family, who took her in after the adoption scandal, were barely touched. Viewers also didn't get a real look at how Natalia was failed by the institutions, adoption agencies, courts, and child services, meant to protect her. Also absent was the forensic deep dive into Natalia's medical records. Experts have long debated her bone density scans and dental exams. If the show had taken a closer, more balanced look at the evidence, it could have painted a more complex, and perhaps more human, picture of Natalia. Natalia speaks, but not on Good American Family, one of the biggest developments that happened outside of the show. Natalia herself finally spoke out in a different documentary, Natalia Speaks, released on a rival network. In it, she tearfully detailed the isolation and fear she experienced in the Barnetts' home, and how she struggled to prove her age and identity after being legally declared an adult by an Indiana judge. This bombshell docuseries shifted public opinion significantly. Suddenly, Natalia wasn't seen as a threat. She was seen as a vulnerable girl caught in a bizarre and heartbreaking legal saga. Viewers began questioning why Good American Family had largely omitted her voice. With the tide turning, calls for a second season began to mount, this time with Natalia front and center. Clues and hints about a potential Season 2. While no official announcement has been made, insiders close to the production have dropped hints. A writer's assistant posted, and quickly deleted, a cryptic tweet that read, "Season 2 will change everything you thought you knew about Natalia. #Good American Family." And in a recent podcast interview, the show's lead producer teased, "We're not done with this story. Let's just say Season 1 was about perception. Season 2 might be about truth." Additionally, casting notices have surfaced in Atlanta and Toronto for roles described as Eastern European teenager, adoptive family patriarch, and CPS worker with a conscience. These suggest the show may be revisiting Natalia's earlier life in Ukraine, her time in foster care, and her eventual placement with the Barnetts, possibly from a more empathetic angle. What could Season 2 look like? If Season 1 was a psychological thriller, Season 2 might be a courtroom drama mixed with a redemption arc. There's growing speculation that Season 2 will dramatize the trial where Michael Barnett was acquitted of neglect, while Christine's charges were eventually dropped. These proceedings were messy, emotional, and, most importantly, full of testimony that never made it into Season 1. There's also the possibility of following Natalia's life after the media storm. Her quiet life with the man's family offered a stark contrast to the chaos of the Barnetts. And yet, even there, legal battles persisted as questions about her identity continued to haunt her. A more balanced season could show Natalia not as a mystery, but as a person. Someone who wants a stable life, who has dreams, and who deserves the chance to be seen as more than a headline. What the audience wants. Fans on social media have made their demands clear. A viral TikTok series titled "Justice for Natalia Grace" has over 10 million views, with users sharing clips of interviews, medical expert analysis, and emotional pleas for the truth. Reddit threads have dissected each episode of Good American Family with surgical precision, pointing out every inconsistency and overlooked detail. And Natalia's advocates are pushing for more responsible storytelling. They argue that Season 1 risked re-traumatizing Natalia by perpetuating the idea that she was dangerous, without ever truly investigating the system that allowed her to fall through the cracks.